Hi, so my name's Gavin, and the findings we have from our research, focus groups particularly, show us that ressentiment is real, grievances are very important and need to be considered and included in our understanding of groups, group functioning. We particularly find that that's relevant, highly relevant for groups that we describe as pro-democratic and other groups that are in more anti-democratic or illiberal directions. So our findings show that, yes, we can find examples of transformed negative emotions, that these are important. Shame, for example, seems to be repressed or changed in some situations. We find that there are examples of anxiety as well, other emotions that maybe are not acknowledged so much in politics, that are underlying a lot of these really interesting grievance and kind of angry, resentful and ressentimentful political responses of groups. So these are some of our findings. We continue with our focus groups. Our focus groups have been with a range of pro-democratic groups. A good example of this is Serbian students who are protesting against the regime of Vučić. And we find from these projects that, yes, some of the students they obviously feel deep-seated grievances, but this doesn't necessarily develop into ressentiment, where there's a feeling of powerlessness, a feeling of anger that becomes a real bitterness that prevents some kind of positive future action. Instead, they resist this. So in the example of the Serbian student protest groups, there are examples of anger, deep-seated anger and resentment and fears about the future, but also that doesn't develop in a ressentimentful direction. It doesn't lead into this bitterness. Students in those groups are really opposed to, they disagree with victimhood narratives. They don't describe themselves as victims. They see themselves as actively defending democracy and trying to produce change. These are the kinds of really subtle and interesting findings we find from focus groups. Patterns of meaning, relationships between complex affects, emotional mechanisms, and the discourses we know kind of anger, of being upset, being bitter, that we find connected with what we call grievance politics.